Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are showing off the Tier 8 Kansas, the split branch that came out a little while ago. I've actually been kind of grinding it for a while. Like I said, I haven't been playing World of Warships as much, so I haven't really put in a lot of time. I also haven't been running premium time, so obviously my ability to really grind up the way through the Kansas has been terribly slow. Obviously, it might be kind of noticeable that I'm not showing any old replays is because I don't have the old versions anymore, so I can't show off those replays, which is very, very annoying because I had a good Drake replay that I did want to show off, but unfortunately I did not. So let's talk about the Kansas. I mean, it's my home state, so I'm kind of glad that my home state is in the game, but obviously, yeah, it's kind of a crappy ship. It's pretty much like a New Mexico at tier 8. It does have decent firepower. It does have 4 triple guns with 406 millimeters. Max damage is 11,800. But probably the most annoying thing is, well, 2 factors actually. The first factor is the dispersion can be a little bit annoying to deal with. It has good alpha, is that why I'm, no. It has good vertical dispersion, but it doesn't have very good horizontal dispersion. So that can be quite annoying with the ship. And other factors I've seen, it seems to struggle dealing damage at ships at longer ranges. Obviously against a cruiser, it's not that big of a deal, so... But even against like battleships, I've had issues with this ship. It's definitely not my most favorite ship at the moment. So probably the one most notable downside of the ship, as we do get a citadel, so that's actually really nice right there. The most terrible, probably not the most terrible, but one of the negative aspects of the ship is one, her armor. She seems to eat damage quite readily from armor piercing and from high explosive, and that comes from her 32 millimeter stern, aft, and deck armor. So HE spammers just love seeing a Kansas, Minnesota, or Vermont. It's definitely a ship that gets cooked alive, and it doesn't really have anything to go against that. Its damage party is 20 seconds, which is not great. Repair party is probably where it kind of struggles. It does have 402 points per second, but it only lasts for 28 seconds. So the shortened time is by far the most annoying aspect, and I do run the repair party flag on this, so I do have the extended length of time for the damage control. The Citadel is very able to be citadeled. It does have a 86 millimeter armor, which does mean that it can get pinned by other battleships at the same tier. So it definitely is not a ship you want to show a lot of broadside, even though getting all guns on point is nice, but definitely not a ship you want to do that very often. Another aspect, obviously, is her speed. She has a 23 knots top speed, and this is with the speed flag. So she is very, very slow. It does mean you do have to keep in mind of your position, where you're positioning yourself, because you can't really react that quickly compared to similar tiers, North Carolina, Bismarck, Amagi, which have much greater top speed. And that is going to play kind of a main factor of how well you're going to do in this ship. Because if you're not in a position to really help out your team, you're going to struggle to deal damage and help support your team. Another factor is if your team collapses on a particular side that you're on, you're pretty much screwed. You can't really get out of harm's way. You can't really pull back. So it's definitely a ship that you don't want to push in, because once you push in, you really can't get out of there very, very quickly. So you definitely need to kind of sit a little bit longer range, and that's kind of how you need to play the ship. It's not an aggressive ship. It can't tank the damage. It can't get out of harm's way. It doesn't have the repair party. That's going to make it really beneficial. And I have to point out this Mahan. This Mahan makes a very interesting choice. Very aggressive towards this KG-5. And so he does obviously get a good torp hit, but he isn't doing a lot in the way of surviving. He pops his smoke and is still within his smoke firing penalty, because he is obviously shooting at that KG-5. So he nearly comes to death against that KG-5, but fortunately with this next salvo, and that's another factor, is the reload time on these guns. It is 40 seconds. It is incredibly long. So you really have to make sure your shots count, because you are waiting for a good almost a minute before you can unleash your next salvo. Fortunately, we do take out the enemy KG-5, which is really beneficial, because now we're ahead in 4 ships. Now, this was my last battle with the Kansas, and I'm honestly kind of grateful that I am done with the Kansas. Not looking very much forward to the Minnesota, but we'll see how that goes. So, last battle with the Kansas, and the battles I had before, I think I had 3 battles all in a row, and the teams were absolute crap. Basically, I go support one side, and everyone dies, and then you're like, well, there goes me. I can't really do much. And ooh, got a nice citadel for 3,894 points of damage, so completely useless there. But at least we got the citadel and took out the North Carolina. So yeah, the Kansas, it's a stinker. It is very much a stinker. All the battles I've had, I've only had probably 2 to 3 good games with this ship. And I might not be a battleship main. It's not my most favorite line of ship to play. But I wouldn't say I'm quite terrible at the ship either. So it can be very aggravating to play this ship. So at the moment, our team is doing really well. We are 6 ships ahead, only down by 3. And enemy team is very much on the back foot. But unfortunately, on the eastern side of the map, they are definitely struggling. As you can see, they're starting to push up. There is a Le Fantastique that's starting to push towards our cap. And this is something you have to keep in mind of the Kansas, because the Kansas, like I said, it's not really a ship that can reposition very, very quickly. So keeping in mind that our cap is now in danger, and our team has yet to actually attempt to step on cap, and this Bismarck really not doing a whole lot, sitting at long range and sniping. And here comes probably my biggest complaint, is the captain skills. With the inclusion of the expert marksman, I believe that's what it's called, maybe not, but the captain skill that increases accuracy of ships firing at targets outside of their detect range, as long as no enemy ship is within their detect range, they get that buff. So you do see a lot of more, I want to say, passive play, especially with German battleships, which are not designed to be long-range snipers. They definitely can get a little bit annoying. The good thing about the Kansas, let's actually talk about good things about the Kansas, is one, it has very good torpedo protection. It has a 40% torpedo protection, so it does shrug off torpedoes very, very well. So I would recommend just go ahead and take the torps from airplanes, because you're going to struggle really trying to avoid them. You don't have the speed. You have a good turning circle radius, and your rudder shift isn't particularly great either. So might as well just take the damage from the airplanes, because your AA is competent, as much as I can say about with the current CV in the games. It's at least competent to actually hold off against enemy airplanes, but as always, they're gonna get through. They're gonna launch an attack, so you might as well take that hit, especially if you are dealing with targets that are able to citadel you. Might as well keep your armor angled as much as possible. So as you can see, things aren't looking particularly great up north. We just lost our CV. All that's left is a Bayern, who has just went down to the Fantastique, and our cap is now in danger. So it's actually a very good thing I decided to turn up north, and it's quite amusing that the slowest battleship at tier 8 is the one that's pushing back towards our cap, while our Bismarck and our Charles Martel aren't really doing a whole lot except for attempting to chase the enemy CV. Not the greatest choice there, guys, but that's what they decide to do. So fortunately for us, I wisely decided to turn around and actually start pushing back towards our cap, because had I not, we probably would have lost this. So Fuso is in our cap, but more than likely the Fantastique is in there as well, because it is a Fantastique. It has the ability to get into range very, very quickly. Now, as you can see there, doing fairly good damage against that Fuso, but the dispersion's not particularly great. So unfortunately we only got 4 hits out of the 12 shots we fired, so 1 to 3 hit is it's okay. It's not the greatest. But we definitely need to get in our cap, because even though we are about to win on cap, they do have a enemy Talon that is starting to push in towards our cap, and our Z-23 is going to be reset right about there. And I actually didn't realize that we were about to win this on that cap, but that Talon did his team a favor and actually went back and reset, because their CV is struggling to actually deal damage against that Z-23 and reset him. But as you can see, things aren't looking particularly well. We just lost our Charles Martel, and the enemy team is about 3/4 of the way done with our cap. Now, obviously the only thing I can shoot at is the enemy Fuso, and if I can reset him, that will help, but obviously the one with most points is going to be the Fantastique. And obviously the Fantastique is going to attempt to try to torp us, but in this essence I would much rather take the torps here now, because we need to get in there. So I am, in all intents and purposes, charging into the cap as slowly as a crawl, but we are getting decent damage against that Fuso. There are the torpedoes, and there's the Fantastique. Fortunately for us, the Kansas does have a decent decent turning circle radius. Rudder shift is 15 seconds, so it's actually not that particularly great. But about to kill off the Fuso. Oh, really? See, this, once again, almost 7 kilometers, only landed 3 shells against that Fuso. So we're going to have to get our back turrets around. Fortunately, with us turning, we are going to dodge this next salvo of torps. And fortunately, we are going to take out the enemy Fuso. There we go. That is our 3rd kill of the game. Fantastique is pushing, as well as our Mahan down south is starting to attack. So once these guns reload, and these take forever to reload, we're gonna finish off the Fantastique. My thoughts, as you will see with the death of Fantastique, is the Kansas, it's a stinker. It's not much fun. It's just a stinker. It's slow speed, dispersion's terrible, the armor, the survivability of the ship is terrible. You're eating HE damage quite readily. You're gonna burn for a long time. So yeah, my thoughts on the Kansas. As much as I would love to say I would love to love the ship, I don't. I am actually going to keep it just because it's my home state, but I highly recommend that if you can, skip the ship, move on to the Minnesota. But I've heard the Minnesota's not particularly great either, so yeah, that's going to be it for this replay. Thank you guys so much for joining and watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijen.